Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We're happy that you joined us today. Remember, broaden the scope of exposure for your business by going beyond the interview. Learn more at www.jmmbmediallc.com, or you can email us at jmmbradio@gmail.com. I am so happy to have Emmy Sobieski, who is a Chief Financial Officer. She's an author of 100 Million Careers, the 5 Fastest Career Paths to Wealth, but Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. Wow. She is currently the Chief Operating Officer of Performative Speaking and Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Competitive Storytelling, Inc. Both companies help founders with world-class ideas to share their stories to change the world. Emmy also has a wealth of institutional investing experience, gathering during 25 years working for investment firms representing diverse strategies and types of investments. So little to say, you have been a busy bee.
Yep, absolutely. You only got one life. Live it to the fullest.
I know that's right. No regrets. Wow. So let's talk about your book, 100 Million Careers for the Fastest Career Paths to Wealth Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. When I first read that, I was like, got excited when I read that title, just by the title alone. So tell us what our audience can expect in getting this book.
A lot of people, rightly so, think $1 million is a lot of money. And so 100 million seems crazy. And yet there are 25,000 US households that are self-made that are worth more than 100 million. So it's absolutely possible. And I have seen my mentees who have come from community college, or they've been immigrants that didn't speak English to the age of 16, all of these they've come from all kinds of blue collar backgrounds, and multiples of them have made 3, 5 or more million by the age of 30. And that's really that's your first step, is to start with a chunk of money and then start compounding it and growing it so you can reach 100 million by the age of 50. And so my book talks about, and there's many more careers that you could do this in. You could be an entertainer, etc. But my book really focuses on the careers that I'm aware of, that I know best, which is venture capital, private equity, hedge funds, board director, and startup founder, and talks about how to navigate those careers to get to 100 million by age, to get to 100 million. And the target is by age 50, but it's by 60, 70, whatever. It's to have a career where you have built 100 million of wealth.
Wow. So pretty much finance can get you there.
Yeah, but there's other things. Obviously, there's very wealthy singers, there's very wealthy actors, producers. Yes. It's just that I don't know about those. So I'm not going to write a book about it just because it's, that would be more research. Whereas I have mentored students in finance careers and in startups to get to that multiple millions from diverse backgrounds and blue collar backgrounds. I have mentored them up to that. And then I have friends who have also come from diverse and blue collar and no money effectively. And then by the age of 50, they've made over 100 million. So I've seen the kind of the cohorts making it to multiple millions by 30, and then the other cohorts taking that all the way from 30 to 50, keeping the gas on and arriving at 100 million.
Wow. So how do people get involved with your program? Because I noticed you said mentor. So, once people hear this, they're going to like 100 million, and in today's world, a million sounds like a lot, but in today's world, it's really not,
I mean, it is, but then if it's something you're thinking, I'm never gonna have to work again, then a million's not enough, right?
Right.
It really it depends. So so over time I've mentored students. I currently don't, I don't have like a coaching program or a mentoring program right now. And
Okay.
my book is the way for me to be able to mentor at scale. So
Oh,
I will
okay.
be, so I just spoke at Stanford. I will be speaking at University of Virginia. I'm speaking at various universities to try to get the word out, but I'm trying to get this out so that I can help more than 3 or 5 or 10 people that I've helped. I've helped probably 30 in the past, but I'd love to be able to help far more, and that you don't need to know me or somehow be at my alma mater or something like that to get my help. So this book is the program, and then behind that, if there's any area of the book that you want to learn more about, I have 14 courses online that
Oh,
also dive
okay.
into that. So I have a course on I have a course on nutrition, a course on exercise, a course on investing, a course on networking. So all the pieces of the book, if it says, if it says, okay, here are the fundamentals, it starts out with, which is crazy, but it starts out with, if you want to go fast, if you want to get to the 100 million, you've got to slow down and make sure your foundation is there. And that
Mm-hmm.
is eating well, exercising,
Yes.
and connecting with fellow human beings. And if you don't have those three down, if you lose human connection, or you don't eat well, or you don't exercise, you're not going to have the stamina to make it to the 100 million. And when you arrive there, if you do, you're going to be sick, right? You're going to be ill because
Oh,
you
yeah.
haven't taken care of yourself. And so that fundamentals. But if you're thinking, well, Emmy, I don't really know that much about nutrition, or how do I start learning about it? I'm young, I'm in college, I'm eating pizza with my friends, but I want to learn more about it. And so there's lots of online resources. But I have a nutrition course, and I was actually I wrote the chapter for a medical textbook. I wrote a nutrition chapter for a medical textbook and have an online nutrition degree as well. So, and then I was an athlete that, World Cup, I was in the World Cup trials, ultra marathoner, bodybuilder. I was North American champion as a bodybuilder. So I have a lot of experience in athletics. And so I have an exercise course that talks about how to
Mhm.
fit exercise in, and what are some of the basic principles that some people miss in exercise. So there's
Wow.
lots of those courses like that. So any area that you're in the book, again, this is mentoring at scale. Any area in the book where you're like, oh, I'd like to dive deeper, then I have a way for you to do that.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good because a lot of times people will buy books, and I don't care how detailed it is, they're still going to have questions. And,
Absolutely.
and to be able, so you do yours in courses. So that's how you connect with people. So if people want to connect, get the book and the courses, how do they do so?
They can just go to my website, so they can type in 100mil.careers, or they can type in my name, emmysobieski.com, and either of those will go to my website. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Okay. Perfect.
And I'll send you those links so you'll be able to provide it to your audience.
Absolutely, because I definitely would love to put it in the show notes so that people can
Wonderful.
click on it. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Interesting. So you said you work with all walks of life. So with that being said, how do people come? Let's say I'm a janitor. Let's say that. How do I, first of all, if I'm a janitor, I've got some limiting beliefs. Okay, so how do you work with people in believing that they can even make 100 million?
I'll actually give you a true story. that is very similar. Someone came to me, and his father worked at a manufacturing company.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the line screwing in screws. That's what he did, right? He just turned the screws on the manufacturing line, and hadn't graduated college. Neither had his mother. And he came to me and he said, I should have, like I worked really hard to get to get like a scholarship into football, to get into Ivy League. Then my knee is busted. Now I'm stuck at a state school. And, I just feel like my life is over and I'm not going to go where I wanted to go. And so we talked about that, get rid of the chip I just said, you're too young to have a chip on your shoulder, fix that. And so he actually transferred to an Ivy. But before he
Mm-hmm.
did that, he would come to, I had these classes where the students would practice investment pitches, and he would come and he would do these investment pitches. And one time after class, he said to me, I said, well, what are you thinking about doing for your career? I said, you're one of the most brilliant and talented analysts I've ever seen. And I said, what are you thinking? And he said, well, and this is the limiting belief. He said, I'm going to go for management consulting because there's more jobs available. And I said, you don't understand how much talent you have. I said, you're better than someone 5 years as an analyst in a hedge fund, and you're a freshman in college. I said, I have
Mm-hmm.
every confidence that you should put 100% of your energy into getting into your dream, into getting onto Wall Street, and forget all of that other stuff about, playing it safe. And he did. He believed it. He believed me when I just said that. Just, not his parents, I told him that he could do it, and he went out and did it. He'd already gotten that transfer to Ivy League, and then he made it into a bulge bracket firm. And from there, he made it into a top private equity company, and he's not even 30 yet.
Wow. Wow. But that was good because he believed you. He took what you saw that he didn't see and he utilized it, which
And
is
he believed me more than he believed himself.
right. But ultimately, for him to get there, he had to adapt that belief. He had to say, I can do this. She's right. I can do this. Emmy is right. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, I work with people and you can, I always say you can only see one side of yourself when you look in the mirror. You can't see all three sides. So people around you can a lot of times see what you can't see. But at the same time, even though I might tell you that, you have to believe it, that that's what I see and act on it.
And that's action. What you're saying is so important,
Yes.
because that it wasn't that I told him you can do it, and then he's like, I believe. But what he did is he acted on my belief. He didn't act on his own belief, right?
Mhm.
And the guy that I work for, Robbie Crabtree, he talks about this. The most important thing he gives to founders is belief capital. He
Mm.
believes in them until they believe in themselves. And what happened was that he acted on it. So he went and he got a transfer because he said, I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm stuck at a state school. And I said, you're too young to have a chip on your shoulder. Go fix it. And he went and transferred to an Ivy, right? And then when he got to that Ivy, he decided to join all the investment clubs because I had told him, this is, you got to focus 100% on what you want to do. And every investment club, because he had been practicing investment pitches in my little group until he left. And so he had a year of investment pitches. Every investment club effectively handed him over the reins. They not only said, you're welcome here, they said, will you lead this group?
Wow.
Immediately. And so then all of a sudden he sees that other people are believing in him, and he's involved in these groups and they're having discussions. And so it was this combination of, action, result, action, result, and then he's hearing from more people than just me that he definitely belongs.
Wow. Wow. He is definitely a good example of, moving forward. And he was courageous. He was like, you
Absolutely.
know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I think a lot of factors contribute to that, because the older you get, the scarier you get. Because you've been around the block a few times, you've done lived life, things has happened. So you're a little bit more apprehensive about new. So do you work with people that may be a little bit and maybe in that category?
Well, I don't actually coach or work with anybody, right? So I just have my book and my courses, but then
Okay.
I'm the COO of a company. So I don't specifically work with anybody, but if you were to say, look, could your book be applicable to somebody that's older? How late is too late for $100 million? And there I'll say, if you think about one of the more famous success stories, right? Which is Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes.
And Colonel Sanders he really started selling that idea and franchising at the age of 40. And but then really he started selling the recipe at 40, and then he started selling, the franchises at 60.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really a late bloomer. But he died with $3 million, which is still great considering
Yes.
where he came from, but it's not enough time to compound. So on my website, there's actually a calculator that you can see. If you have 3 million and then you compound it, which is growing it at a certain interest rate over 30 years versus 20 versus 10, how much money do you end up with? And so you need these three components. You need to have enough money to start with. You need to have that 2, 3 million, 4 million, 8 million. Then you need to compound it at a higher interest rate. So earning really good returns, 8%, 10%, 15%, depending. If you started with less, you'd need to earn at a higher rate. And then you need to have it grow for 20 to 30 to 40 years, depending on those other two components. And so that really, it's not like I think at some point someone's just too old or they're not going to be brave. My old portfolio manager, and I say old just because I don't work for her anymore, but she had been in the business of running money, investing other people's money for decades. And she still was the most aggressive investor I have ever seen. You tell her the stock is going up and she's just backing up the truck. So, you can stay really aggressive and new and thinking about new ideas at any age. The only thing that age does is it
Mm-hmm.
just reduces the number of years that you can grow your money.
Yes. Okay. So it's never too late.
Never too late, but at some point it is too late to make 100 million unless you think you're going to make like 50 million in a big, say, liquidity event. Like all of a sudden you're going to sell your company for 50 million. Well, then I can tell you that you could make 100 million in 10 years if you could start with 50 million. But if you're going to only start with 100,000 and you only have 10 years left, that's almost impossible.
Oh, okay. So in your courses, how do people, if they decide they want to get the book and do your courses,
Mm-hmm.
if they have questions, how do they communicate that with you?
Most people just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
So
I see.
some people say, "Hey, I read your book. I just have this one question about me, etc." It's not really a service. It's nothing I charge for, but I really appreciate people reading my book. And usually they just have one question, or they said, "This made me really rethink my whole career." There's one gentleman who's in private wealth management, and I had written about how there's less leverage in private wealth management than, say, venture capital or private equity, but that there's ways to alter your career a little bit in that to build leverage into a private wealth management career. And so he said that after reading that book, he had some ideas about how he's going to mix up and change his career and the type of clients he's working with. And so he just said, oh, I have 1 or 2 questions, and it was just a quick thing. And often that's all that it is, right? It's just, you've read it, you've taken it all in, and you just wonder this one thing specific to you. And so people message me, and I just think it's wonderful that people have read the whole book.
Yes. Yeah. So those folks that don't really have a financial background and want to capitalize on this, so they're in a whole different place. They got to learn the terminology. They've got to do a lot of different things. Does your book include things like that in it?
Well, so what it does is it talks about how to figure out your personality and whether that's a match.
Okay.
Because it's more than just saying, oh gosh, yeah, I want 100 million. Okay, I'm going to learn finance, because you're going to burn out so fast if you're really artistic and you don't like finance. So you're not going to make it long enough. So it has general principles about building leverage into your career. And then it talks about, say, these are the careers that I know, and here's kind of the paths of how to get in, and what if you don't like them. But a more general thing that it does is it says, here's how to think about what career is applicable to you. And then so let's say somebody doesn't have a background in finance, but they say, this is really what I want to learn. Then I would say, use my investing course. And of course, my book is very readable. It's not complicated. So, but you might go through all that and say, you know what, this finance thing, I thought I wanted to do it, not so much. And so then then my book actually goes through this exploratory thing about how to figure out when your personality is really a match for a certain career or not.
Okay, so you definitely cover a lot of different avenues in terms of, dealing with, is this for me? So that's good. That's really good. So again, how can people get the book?
They can get the book on Amazon.com. It's really easy because it's an easy title. You just start typing in 100M careers, $100 million careers, but you just type in 100M careers and it'll come right up on Amazon.
Wow. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it. You can make 100 million. Just follow Emmy's and get her book, and reach out to her on LinkedIn, right? That's what you said. Yep. And let's make it happen. Just make it happen. I'm excited about this. To even, we interview a lot of financial folks, but never from this angle. So thank you so much for bringing.
From how you can make the money, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Ida. It was just wonderful.
Absolutely. And we would love for you to come back again and talk about this more, so that people can definitely get to know you on a deeper level. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.